Well, hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Jonathan. This is Mr. Pearson Talks Books. And today I have a book review for you of a brand new book that just came out. This is called The Sower's Secret. It is by Brock Eastman and Shaun Stevenson. It's book one in the Parable Port series. And this particular book is about a kid named Anthony who moves with his mother to a town called Parable Port. He's new in town. His mom is going to be one of the new elementary school teachers. And so they move to town, and Anthony's kind of nervous because, he's the new kid, and who wants to be the new kid, right? And while he's there, he meets some of the other kids in town, like Duck. His name's Duckstein, but they call him Duck. And the great thing about Duck is he's always trying to come up with a nickname for Anthony. Never can seem to get one right. There is also Grace and Brooklyn, a couple of girls from his Sunday school class. And then there's JR, who is a young podcaster. She thinks of herself as a investigative journalist. And so she's constantly running around with her phone or tape recorder trying to record a podcast. Well, when Anthony and his mom get to town, Anthony starts to notice some weird things. There are birds everywhere, and they're unlike any bird he had ever seen before. And then he starts to notice that there are these green vines with thorns everywhere, and he can't quite figure out what's going on. Well, one day in Sunday school, Anthony and Duck and everybody else is there. Abuelita, that's who teaches their Sunday school class, she talks to them about the parable of the sower from the book of Matthew. Now, if you're not familiar with that parable, that's the story that Jesus tells where he talks about how there is a sower who went out and sowed some seeds, and some of it fell on rocky ground, and some of it fell on shallow ground, and it sprang up and the sun quickly scorched it, and some of it fell on ground that was, after it grew up, it was choked out, and on others, the birds came and ate the seeds. And this is a picture of the truths of the gospel and different people's hearts and how they respond to the gospel message of salvation. And so the kids quickly realize that all of the things that they're seeing, the thorns and the rocks and the birds, it's the parable of the sower come to life. And so now they have to figure out what they can do in order to save the town before it is completely overrun by this parable that has come to life. I got to tell you, I really enjoyed this book. When I talked with Shaun Stevenson, one of the authors, he does have a YouTube channel, which is very similar to mine, which is kind of how we connected. And he contacted me one day and said, "Hey, I have this new book coming out. Would you be interested?" And I said, "Let's go for it." And so he had Tyndale Kids send me a copy of it. Which my family is a big fan of the show Adventures in Odyssey. Now, Adventures in Odyssey is about a town called Odyssey and all of the people who live there and their daily interactions and how they can interweave biblical truth into their everyday lives. And that is very true for this book as well. This book comes across, there are Christian doctrines that are involved in it. They talk about faith. They talk about the scripture and how the scripture plays out in our daily lives. There's all of these different things. But the great thing about what Brock Eastman and Shaun Stevenson did is they interweaved it through the story so that it never comes across as preachy. One of the things that I found interesting is that one of the characters, JR, she seems to be skeptical of the Bible, because there's a part where they're talking and they realize that this is the parable of the sower coming to life. And JR says, "Well, I hate to tell you this, but the Bible's just made up. It's just stories that people wrote." And that gives some of the other kids an opportunity to talk to her about how the Bible actually is true and we accept it on faith. And because because the Sower Secret is book number 1 in the series, I'm hoping that in later books that they go back and they visit that with JR to give her an opportunity to come to faith in the truths of the gospel and in Jesus Christ. So this book right here, absolutely fantastic. It would be a great book to read together as a family. There is a devotional that's included at the end of the story that can also be utilized as part of family devotions. But it's a really fun, really funny story. It's got a lot of adventure. They set up a bad guy who I thought was he was a little underutilized in the first book, but I'm sure that he's going to play a more prominent role when the second book comes out later in 2026. So overall, Parable Port, The Sower Secret, it was a fun read. I had a really good time with this. I would give this probably 3.5 or 4 stars. I'm going to give this to my daughter who is in 5th grade so that she can read it because I think she would really enjoy it. But overall, Parable Port, The Sower Secret, it's fantastic. Make sure you grab a copy of it. I know that Shaun Stevenson has been going around, based on what I've seen on his Facebook page. He's been going to Barnes and Noble and finding it in various Barnes and Nobles, but he's been finding it in various Barnes and Noble stores. Why am I having trouble saying that today? So it is available on the shelves. You can also get it through Amazon if you want to grab a copy of it there. But grab this and support them and let Tyndale know that this was a great book and that they should continue the series. Shaun, if you see this, and I hope you do, please continue the series. I want to find out what happens to Anthony. I want to know more about Duck. And definitely, like I said, I want to know if JR has an opportunity to come to faith. So that is my review and recommendation of The Sower Secret, the book 1 in the Parable Port series. Please give it a try. It is great. If you've read it, if you've had an opportunity, please let me know down in the comments. And as always, my name is Jonathan. This is Mr. Pearson Talks Books. We'll see you next time.